We only have one more item on the agenda, other than the fact that we've had the practice of public comment. Anybody have any objection to public comment this evening?
No.
Public comment?
Hi, Catherine Fatty. I had a question on the parking and the lighting subcommittees. Will they be subject to notice, open meeting law notice, so that people know that we're having the meetings if you have them?
You mean the committee themselves?
Mm-hmm.
I guess they
What you, they should be.
Is there a reason they wouldn't be?
I don't see why.
No, there's no reason.
Oh.
There's no reason why they wouldn't be. What you may want to do is, when the committees come together, and we can talk about this a little bit, is to try to schedule regular meetings so that you don't have to notice and renotice.
Just be noticed once a year, as long as they're meeting on at the same time.
At the same time.
Right, and whatever that notice is, it should be up on the website.
Right.
That way, there's a calendar and people know that you can attend at regular times.
So then the tree committee that met last night should have been noticed?
They don't have to be noticed I mean, that's if they're meeting at the same time in the same place, it doesn't require re-noticing every time. Did they change their meeting?
The village board
place?
notice you.
What's that?
There's a posting, if it's posted, then it's noticed, like a village meeting, right? But if it changes, then it should be noticed.
But did it change? I'm not on that committee. I'm sorry. Did it change or?
It was the second meeting, and I don't know
Last night.
if it was posted. So.
We'll check.
Any other comments, Mike?
Yeah, Mike Bowman, Cold Spring. Just on the last item on the agenda, which is a motion to conduct an executive session to discuss a personnel matter. I was just wondering if you could expand on personnel matter for the public, because the term personnel matter doesn't appear anywhere in the open meetings law in terms of executive session.
Mike, do you want to speak to that?
Do you want to speak
Well, can I read, I've got one of the opinions from the Committee on Open Government, just while you're looking that up. Although it's frequently used, the term personnel appears nowhere in the open meetings law, although one of the grounds for entry into executive session often relates to personnel matters. From our perspective, the term is frequently cited in a manner that is misleading or causes unnecessary confusion. To be sure, some issues involving personnel may be properly considered in an executive session. Others, in our view, cannot. Further, certain matters that have nothing to do with personnel may be discussed in private under the provision that is ordinarily cited to discuss personnel. The language of the so-called personnel exception, it's 105-1F of the Open Meetings Law, is limited and precise in terms of legislative history. As originally enacted, the provision in question permitted a public body to enter into an executive session to discuss specifically medical, financial, credit or employment history of any person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of any person or corporation. Even when 105-1F may be validly asserted, it has been advised that a motion describing the subject to be discussed as, quote, personnel or personnel issues is inadequate, and that the motion should be based upon the specific language of 105-1F. For instance, a proper motion might be, I move to enter into executive session to discuss the employment history of a particular person or person. So we've had this discussion in the past. I know I did a few times with Mayor Gallagher about using the term personnel matters. And
So,
I think when Bob Freeman actually came down last year, this was one of the topics that we expounded upon for 40 minutes.
Right. Well, if that is the case, and we want to follow the advisory opinion of the COOG, I would make a motion that we enter executive session to discuss the employment history.
Can we at least hear from? Can we at least hear from Mike first?
Sure.
Sorry, I just sort of skipped it.
Mr. Bowman read word for word section 105F of the Open Meetings Law. So if we can take your motion to amend, it would be perfectly fine. He's right, it doesn't mention anything about personnel. We've used that as a catch-all to cover employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal. So, to be 100% correct,
All
then
right, let's be 100% correct.
Yep.
I make a motion to conduct an executive session to discuss the employment history of a particular person.
it's employment.
Employment of a particular person.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so that'll still be number 7 on our agenda. Anyone else, public comment this evening?
Since you're in the spirit of the open meetings law, you might want to be aware of the fact that the law was changed last year to reflect that any time a public body meets, for example, you're talking about your information packets and discussing of letters and issues and so forth, you're required under the law to make the agenda and all the materials and documents that you're discussing available to the public prior to the meeting, or at least have specimen copies available for the public to examine during the meeting. Right, because the idea behind that being is it's very difficult for people in the audience or for people watching at home to have any idea what you're discussing or you're having a conversation about if they don't have access to the documents. Right? I can get Mike the particular citation if you
No,
need it.
you don't need
but-
to.
Okay, you're aware of that?
I am.
Okay.
Is OML now addressing agendas per se? Because it never used to be in the OML. Agendas are something that's part of our meeting procedure, but not in OML.
What the law calls for is, it's actually when, it really says when convenient for the board to have those items available to the public in advance. And Barney's, 100% correct. It is very difficult to, for the public to interact with the board at its regular meeting when the public, is not privy to the supporting information that is gonna be the topic of discussion for the board of trustees. So what happens is, generally what happens is a lot of boards have gone to having more, I'd say, more thorough discussions at the work session before the next regular meeting, have those items all teed up at the work session, discussed, and then have the resolutions ready and available prior to the next regular meeting. You guys are you move a little faster than let's say, certain towns. Not that you have less on your agenda, you have the same amount of stuff on your agenda, it's just that you guys have work sessions and regular meetings very often. Sometimes work sessions and regular meetings on the same night. So, and you can transfer over to that to have, let's say your work sessions, let's say you meet 4 times a month and you have, 2 work sessions, 2 regular meetings. That would give you guys, really provide a little bit more opportunity to have the supporting docs ready. So at a work session, if you ordered council to prepare resolutions, they would be ready, at least a few days before the next regular meeting, and then uploaded to the website along with the agenda and the supporting docs to go along with it.
Yeah,
What's the effect of that is, it's just that we would be more organized and more deliberate about what we're working on and what we're taking action on. Would we take action in our workshops?
No, you would take action at the regular meeting. So all of that supporting documentation, which generally would be the resolutions would be available to the public so that the public could be more informed and interact more with the Board of Trustees on those items.
You actually only have to look as far as Phillipstown. I mean, and there's a member of the town board here, but they make their agenda packets available the Friday preceding the meetings. So the public has an opportunity to examine the documentation and supporting documents over the weekend prior to the meeting, so they can come to the meeting and be better informed about what's taking place.